What is Jaime Lannister's real plan for Cersei in Game of Thrones' penultimate episode? From child-pushing sister lover to golden-handed golden boy, few characters on Game of Thrones have gone through as huge a character arc as Jaime Lannister. Way back in 2011, when he was pushing Stark kids out of windows left and right, we never imagined that he would become one of the show's most nuanced and sympathetic characters, or that we would be shipping him so hard with one of our other big faves, Brienne of Tarth. Now, before we get any deeper into this episode, this Nerdist News will discuss episode 71, The Last of the Starks, so if you haven't seen this Game of Thrones yet, then you won't like the sound of these spoilers.
No, it is not a pleasant sound.
I don't want to hear it.
Still here? Good. Back to the Kingslayer, Brienne, and the situation that we found ourselves in last night when, after a wine-fueled game of Never Have I Ever, the pair snuggled up by a very, very toasty fire. But alas, this is Game of Thrones, and when this show gives you something nice, you just know they're going to take it away from you a few episodes later, or in this case, a few scenes later. We didn't even get to the end of the episode before Jaime was ditching Brienne harder than Jon Snow ghosting Ghost. But why is he walking out on the best romantic relationship he's ever had outside of his family tree? Well, on the face of it, it seems like no matter how far he strays, Jaime's compass will always point him back to Cersei, and that's pretty much exactly what he tells Brienne before he takes off in the middle of the night. He loves Cersei, and he will always love her no matter how many hundreds of people she kills with wildfire. But what if that's not the real story? What if that's just what he's telling Brienne to make his exit easier and make sure that she doesn't follow him? What if his real reason for reuniting with his sister is so he can finally truly redeem himself and kill the sister for whom he's done so much killing in the past? For starters, look at the timing of Jaime's departure for King's Landing. It comes right on the heels of him finding out that Euron Greyjoy inflicted some serious casualties to Dany's dragon reserves. All of a sudden, Cersei's odds of winning the last war seem a lot better. Until that moment, Jaime figured he could probably just hang up his golden hand and wait for his sis to get bathed in dragonfire from the sidelines. Now he's realizing it might take a little something more to get her out of the Iron Throne. But maybe even more important is paying attention to the exact words that Jaime tells Brienne before he rides off. Yes, he says that he's always loved Cersei and that he's done a lot of awful things in the name of that love. However, he doesn't exactly phrase it like a guy who's super excited about getting back together with his ex. I pushed a boy out of a tower window, crippled him for life, for Cersei, he says, and then he goes on to say, I would have murdered every man, woman, and child in Riverrun for Cersei. She's hateful, and so am I. Notice how he uses the word would've. He's talking in the past tense. Now, these are all things that he's done and now seems pretty remorseful about, and maybe, just maybe, he now realizes that the only way to truly atone for them is to be the one who finally puts an end to Cersei's mad reign. After all, if there's anyone who can get close enough to her to get a dagger in her back, it is probably him. In a recent Vanity Fair interview, Nikolai Coster-Waldau basically said he went into this season thinking all about who Jaime is without Cersei. The core of him has always been Cersei, he told the magazine. When that's taken away, what are you then? What's left? Is there anything left? And that seems to be the question the show is about to answer head on. Can Jaime possibly exist without his beloved sister? And although it seems like the answer he gave Brienne last night was a big old no, we still believe that Jaime is on his way to do the right thing. Jon, on the other hand, can go jump off a wall for the way that he treated Ghost. At least give your direwolf a goodbye pat on the head before you go send him to live on the Wilding Ranch up north. Terrible pet owner. But what do you folks think? Is Jaime still in love with Cersei, or does his heart truly belong to Brienne? And what is Euron going to do when Qyburn opens the envelope to tell him he's not the father? Let's discuss. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and mash that little bell to get notified every time we go live with the show or drop a new video. And if this isn't enough Game of Thrones for you, make sure to check out our Game of Thrones after show, All Kings Considered, live Mondays at noon Pacific on Nerdist YouTube and Geek and Sundry's Twitch.